90% of our conversation, 90% is with ourselves. The moment that we wake up in the morning and we sort of stumble to the kitchen and start the coffee maker or put water on for tea, we are beginning that inner dialogue, that inner conversation with ourselves that doesn't end until we go to sleep. And maybe even when we're asleep, we're still talking to ourselves in our dreams. And because of that inner conversation, we know we understand ourselves perfectly, 100%. I speak Bob Berkowitz fluently. I don't need anybody to tell me what I say because I understand me. And that's the biggest problem we have in business communication and in personal communication. Because we understand ourselves so well, we make the bad assumption, the worst assumption you can make in any kind of communication, that others understand us. Let me give you an example from my personal life. Nobody in the world knows me better than my wife. She knows me exceedingly well, and I like to believe the other way around is just as true. And yet there are times that I know when I've said something to her that she did not understand. Well, the responsibility is on me to explain to her, to make sure that I am being clear to her. It's not her job to try to figure out what I'm trying to tell her. And so in the business world, honestly, we're dealing with relative strangers, sometimes absolute strangers. You've never met this person before in your life, and suddenly you've got to communicate to that individual. So to that end, I'd like to offer you, if I can, 7 elements of persuasive, clear, and powerful communications. It's not what you say, it's what they hear. A man much smarter than I am came up with that line, but I've borrowed it from him, if I may. What does that mean? It means that you must constantly be the translator and interpreter of you. If we agree that not everybody necessarily understands what we're saying, then you have to go out of your way, take that first, second, third, fourth step to make sure that others understand you. So how do you do that? If you make one of your compelling, important messages, as we spoke of in point number 2, you should follow it up with something like this. Here's what I mean by that. In other words, you're saying the same thing, but in a different way. So you're giving them another way of understanding what you're talking about. Or you can say, here's why I think this is important to you. Or here's why this changes things. Or here's how I came to this conclusion. Or perhaps the best thing you can say is, here's an example of what I'm talking about. You're constantly interpreting, constantly translating you. You're not taking it for granted that they totally understand what you're saying. Another technique along these lines is to ask and answer your own questions. Because not everybody feels comfortable in asking questions. You know they're thinking questions. They may not even agree with you, but they may feel others may judge me by the question that I ask. They may feel that what I'm saying is stupid or wrong or incorrect or whatever. So do the favor to them and ask and answer your own questions. So you can say something like, if I were you, if I was sitting where you're sitting, here's what I'd want to know. Or knowing your situation as I do, here's probably what you're thinking to yourself. You're like getting into their head. And one of the things that we all like in life, we all are connected by this, that is being understood, that is being recognized. And when you ask and answer your own question, you are connecting with them on a very deep and personal level. And it also may encourage them to say, okay, well, I have some more questions. I'm going to start following up what you just said with more questions. Let's say, hypothetically, there's bad news about your company or bad news about you. Well, because of this highly connected world that we live in, internet, social media, etc., they probably know it. Assume that they do know it. So bring it up before they do. One reason is because it shows that you're a courageous person. You're not afraid to face controversy, stare it in the eye, and bring it on. And number 2, you get to talk about it in a way that you want to talk about it. It's like you're setting the stage your way, not their way. And you could start by saying, you probably know this about our company, but we had a shortfall in our profits this last quarter. Let me tell you why that happened and why we think we're taking the right steps to correct that. So again, you're bringing it up, but you're also showing how you're handling it. Now, I know everybody here is in the business world, and you think, well, feelings. We don't deal with feelings in the business world. We deal with data. We deal with analysis. We deal with facts, all of which is true. But J.P. Morgan, the great financier from the 19th century, said that we all do virtually anything important in life for one of two reasons. The good reasons and the real reasons. The good reasons are the factual reasons that are unassailably true. They're 100% true. The real reasons are the emotional reasons. And I would argue that we make the vast amount of our decisions in life for how we feel about something, not how we think about something. So let me give you an example. We have a lot of things in common in this room, but one thing we absolutely have common, 100%, absolutely, is that we're all wearing clothes, right? Yeah, we're all wearing clothes, good. Why do we wear clothes? Well, it's chilly outside. It was raining earlier today. Maybe it's still raining now. Clothes keep us warm. They keep us dry. And that's a good thing. We could all agree that is absolutely true, unassailably true. Second reason we wear clothes is that we have a social contract in our culture, in our societies, that we don't walk out of the house naked. We wear clothes to cover certain parts of our body. Am I correct about it? Even when we go to the beach, probably we wear clothing to cover certain parts of our body. That is absolutely true. But if that were the only reason we wore clothes, we could spend a minimal amount of money that would keep us warm and dry and protect our modesty. But we don't, do we? We spend an inordinate amount of money because of the emotional reasons we buy clothes. We buy clothes because of how they make us feel and how we want others to feel. Look what I have here. I have a necktie. It neither keeps me warm in the cold weather, and it doesn't protect my modesty. The tie's not that long, ladies and gentlemen. But I wear it. It's decorative. I kind of like the way it looks. You wear a business suit because it has a certain formality. It feels like, okay, we're here to talk about business. So some people, it exudes power, control. People wear clothes that are kind of sexy because that's the kind of feeling they want others to have about them. Artistic, grungy, funky, funny. All of that is about clothes. The emotional reason that we buy clothes has made people like Giorgio Armani, the Versace family, Sand of Coken, even filthy rich, because they know that we're willing to invest a lot of money because of the emotional attachment that we have to clothes.